allies. I love kids. I love them. They're like little thought. Wait, hold on. No, I love my kids. I don't really care about your kids. But you might love your kids as much as I might love my kids. So that's why I've made this list. Some items that I think are amazing for young boys and girls for preparedness, survival, and if you go camping, great for camping. Number 5 on my list is a tent or a sleeping bag. Now, I don't have a particular one to recommend because they're so different. It depends on the climate that you're in, what you need. I'm not gonna make any assumptions on where you're at, what the temperatures are like, or anything like that. But specifically, I'll throw some links in the Amazon. You can go check out what they have available. But what you're looking for here is something that, you know, possibly they can go pitch the tent in the backyard. If you've got a nice plot of land, you can go out a little bit from the house and have a little camp out with kids. Kids and tents and camping, at a young age, they really get used to the concept of being outdoors. They really fall in love with it at a young age. So that's why tent and sleeping bag, number 5 on my list, recommendation for 2016. So item 4 is a BB gun or an air rifle. This is the Benjamin Trail NP. I've had this for a very long time. It's a great rifle. It's an all-in-one rifle. It comes with the scope. It's a break barrel. You just smack this thing down. It takes about 40 pounds to operate the barrel and charge the inert core. Now this is something more for like a teenager, somebody that's a little bit more used to guns, because this is a 22 caliber rifle and it is traveling at a high rate of speed. It will take small game, no problem. Now if this is a little too much for your youngster and you got someone that's a little bit younger, you know, this is a perfect opportunity to get a Red Ryder BB gun, right? Red Ryder BB guns have been around forever. They're not so dangerous, but enough danger that you need to respect them, you need to treat them properly, and you can have that teachable moment on how to handle a firearm or an air rifle in this particular case. Now, the Benjamin kind of gets the nod from me because it's a multi-use gun. It's not just something that you can use for practicing on how you shoot, your accuracy, and work on all the fundamentals. It's also a practical rifle in the case of a situation where you would need to depend on it to get food, small game, whatever. This is a perfect rifle for that. Considering that it's a break action single shot and it uses 22 caliber pellets, the ammo is plentiful. There's even molds you can buy to smelt down your own lead and make your own pellets with. So really, this is a high recommendation for me. I've loved this thing. This is actually one of my favorite guns to shoot, oddly enough, even though that is an air rifle over a regular, firearm. Anyway, yeah, pretty cool piece of kit too. I'll post a link in the description. You can check it out. Number 3. The Brunton TrueArc 3 Compass. Why this one specifically? Well, it's still compact and it has a full-size rotating bezel with a ruler on the top and bottom, and you've got your pointing declinations and your degrees. Now, compasses are something that has kind of fallen out of favor, and we've replaced them with cell phones. And that's why I think it's so important to get kids compasses and get them understanding how the Earth works and why this thing points north. Why? Because the Earth is one just big giant magnet with a north and south pole. It's called North and South Pole for a reason, because it's just a big magnet. And magnets, or compasses, work on the principle of magnetism, and they want to align themselves vertically with magnetic north and south. So this is both a teaching useful tool for explaining earth sciences. It's also a useful survival tool. If they know how to operate this, they can always point a direction, point an azimuth with this, and they can work towards that. And again, how do you point an azimuth? I've made videos on that in the past, but line up north and south, point the direction you want to go, note the declination, note the degrees, and then just walk in that direction and keep checking as you go, and you'll always find your landmark if you're pointing your direction out. So very cool. It's easy to set up an orienteering course even in your backyard using a compass. Very cool, both a scientific project, a survival project, and just a cool thing to have. There's no kids who understand what a compass is anymore, so you should have that kid. Your nephews, your uncle, your children, they should all know how to work a compass if possible. Number 2, flashlights. And I actually have 3 recommendations. First recommendation, the Twist Light from IKEA. This looks like a pepper grinder, a pepper mill. It uses a dynamo and it has a on and off button. Operate this for 19 seconds or so, and it'll work. Now, hand crank flashlights are great for kids because it's one less thing that dad has to worry about having batteries for and keeping batteries charged. This one is a nice size, it's easy for kids to hold on to, but I have a second recommendation if you don't have an IKEA in your area. This is a dynamo solar and crank powered flashlight. It's available on Amazon. It's very inexpensive. I believe this one was $6, and it's actually very long lasting. Now, a lot of these crank flashlights aren't going to have a very long battery life, but that's okay, because they're just going to use it for pointing around and getting used to using a flashlight. I'd put this more in the realm of the younger kids. Something 3 and up is a great little choice for them. Older kids would like this too because it's solar and it's dynamo and it has a carabiner, so they can just connect it to something and it's kind of always there. It's a preparedness item. It's something that's available at all times and can support them in whatever they have. You know, throw it in their car when they get a bit older, throw it on their backpack, throw it wherever, and it's available, it's there. Really good for bedtimes with the little ones too. They can have this and they can take back the night when they think there's a boogeyman or they hear a bump in the dark or they don't know what something is. They can turn their flashlight on and they can figure out exactly what's going on. It builds confidence, builds character, and self-reliance, and that's what we're looking for. I have a second light to recommend. This is the Energizer Fusion pop-up lantern. This is a cool little light. It has a bright, kind of diffused LED action. It's like 3 bulbs down at the bottom, and it's diffused by this center pop-up centerpiece. It has a dimmer ability. You just hold down the power button. This is the dimmest setting. That's the off. Just click it again, click it back on, goes to full power. If you slam it shut, it turns off. And when it's shut, you can pull the rubber band off and stretch it around. This gets great battery life. I think there's 3 or 4 AA batteries in here. It's relatively portable, a little bit on the heavy side for its size, but you can connect this to your bag or off of the kitchen KP pop-up shelter, whatever you've got going. And this works great as just a perfect little night light for in camp or in your tent or wherever. I really recommend this. This is great for the bedroom too. Again, keeping the boogeyman away. Works great for that. Just put this in the lowest setting. Batteries last for a long time. And it's just a cool little ambience light. Big recommendation for the Fusion pop-up lantern. I know Ben in particular, whenever he sees this thing, he just loses his mind and he wants it and he bugs the heck out of me until I give it to him. So yeah. Before we get to item 1, number 1, I have an honorable mention. A pocket knife, the humble pocket knife. And the reason why it's an honorable mention is I started thinking about it more and more. I was gonna get my hands on one of those Leatherman Leaps. I looked all over the place for them. The prices have skyrocketed. I think they've discontinued them, and I think the reason is that knives don't have to be kid knives. They don't have to be child-friendly knives. It's a knife. It's going to be sharp. It's a cutting utensil. If the child is responsible enough to have a knife, they should just have a knife, a regular knife. This is as close to a kid's knife as you can get. Thank you, Salty Shellback, for giving this to Ben and Edison. When they get a little bit older, I'll give it to Ben. But this is what they use in Germany. They have the tip blunted, but it's still a live blade. Now, understand that it's an honorable mention because, you know, knives are tools, just like any other tool, and hobbling one particular tool so that it becomes less dangerous really isn't a valid thing. So a knife is a great option if that's what you're going to give your kid this year. That's great. That's cool. But it doesn't really need to be a kid item, I think, personally. This is great though because it is a bit nicer without the tip there. So, you know, I respect the idea, the concept, but the idea of like the Leatherman Leap with the removable blade, I don't think it really serves a purpose. So are you ready for item 1? Do you think you know what I will pick as item 1? I bet most of you do. I bet most of you do. Here we go. What's that? Radio, of course I'm gonna pick radio. Now, not a ham radio. This is an FRS family radio, right? So this is a Uniden. This is a AAA radio. It takes 3 AAA batteries. Bit of a battery hog, so I recommend getting some Eneloops or something along those lines. I will post the links to all these items in the description. You can check them out. But these Uniden radios are great. Now, I have another recommendation. It's really my ultimate pinnacle recommendation, but this recommendation comes down to kids who are very active, who are outdoors, who do things already in this area and need a bit of communication either with their friends or family to stay safe. And that's why I recommend FRS or GMRS radios, particularly this Uniden model. And again, you can find this in the description. So my number 1 recommendation is the Kato KA500 emergency radio. I recommend this radio for lots of reasons. Both, it's a comparable AM and FM radio. It also has 2 shortwave radio bands and a wealth of weather radio bands. This is a true emergency radio. It also has a hand crank with a rechargeable battery. It'll take AA batteries that you can see here, along with the rechargeables. I think one of the coolest features on this is the solar panel. This will power itself off of the solar panel. So you get it started with the hand crank, you point this at the sun, and boom, you've got solar panel keeping this thing charged and charging the internal battery. Very cool, but it goes a step further. It also has multiple different lights. There's a reading light, there's an SOS flashing light, there's a regular white light, which also covers the front screen of the radio. But there's still more. It has a USB port on the back that you can plug your phone or some other USB device into. It'll take a DC power outlet connection to charge it, and it can also be charged off of the USB on your computer. This is not only a radio, but kind of like a practical preparedness survival item for your powered devices, and it gives kids an understanding of what it truly means to keep their devices charged. Trust me, get your phone hooked up to this and try and crank your phone back to life. They'll get a clear understanding of why power and maintaining power and being responsible with electricity is very important. It's got a cool little handle on top of it. It's relatively large. It would take up a backpack, but there's no reason that this can't go car camping with you. There's no reason that an industrious youth can't just haul this along with them because it is very light. So this is my recommendation. I think this is a great item for a kid that is self-reliance minded, survival minded, or just camping focused. They'll be able to go outside in the evenings, be able to pull up the shortwave antenna or FM antenna, and they'll be able to dial in channels from around the world. And again, a radio has the same kind of teachable moments that the compass provides, explaining how radios work, explaining how the receive function of radios work, and walk them through the whole process of powering devices and keeping things working. This is a fairly low end on the Kato. Well, I'm saying it's in the middle area of the Kato brand. This is about $45, and it goes up from there. It goes up into hundreds of dollars. Now, this is where I would put the sweet spot for a child. There's some features that the more expensive radios have that I don't think most people need to worry about, but you can go check it out. Again, I will post the links in the description. You can check it out. It's got nice little tuning knobs. All of it feels plasticky, of course, because it's made of plastic, but everything has a good feel to it. It feels strong enough, it feels durable enough, and it feels like it would last through whatever situation you throw at it. So yeah, the Kato Voyager KA500, big recommendation. It rounds out the top of my list along with the FRS radio. So how did I do this year? What do you think of this list? Is it a compelling list? Do you think this would be good for lots of different kids? Do you already have some kids in mind that would be attracted to specific items? I think that there's something in there for just about every kid that has a mind towards knowing how the world works, knowing what it's like to be prepared or want to get prepared or have an interest towards camping or anything like that. I think a lot of these will fit perfectly for a lot of those kids.